It's Memorial Day, which means it's time to make some big decisions. Let's do it on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Memorial Day, May 29th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. A big thank you to all those who have served. We would not be here without you. Scott, let's get into some players who have struggled to this point in the season. We'll start with the pitchers. Dylan Cease, a 4.60 ERA, a 136 whip. The strikeouts and the swinging strike rate are both way down. The hard contact is way up. Would you be looking to buy right now? And if you have him on your team, what do? Do you start him? Do you sell him?
Well, I am discouraged by what Cease is doing. I don't think this is an obvious buy low scenario. I have moved him down in my starting pitcher rankings outside of the top 20 rest of season. He has not improved as a strike thrower, still as vulnerable to walks as ever, and yet he's become a much worse bat misser. And I think his control is so bad that he needs to be an elite bat misser to overcome it. So that is not a good trend for him. And I think it's pretty hard to imagine he gets back to his 2022 version at this point. But I never expected him to in the first place. I had him as a preseason bust candidate. I saw him more as the 3.91 ERA guy he was 2 years ago. Maybe not even quite that bad, but more like a mid-3s ERA than a low-2s ERA. And can he get back to that still? Yes, I think that's possible. We need to see the whiffs go up soon, or I'm going to start losing faith in that quickly. So to a degree, I call him a buy low. Sure, I still have him as a top 25 pitcher rest of season, even though he's not in my top 20 anymore. But there are genuine concerns here.
And there are genuine concerns for Alek Manoah, who just had another bad start against the Tampa Bay Rays, a 5.53 ERA, a 1.79 whip. He leads all qualified starting pitchers with 6.4 walks per 9. The next closest is Mackenzie Gore at 4.8. I don't think we could start him right now, Scott. What do you do with Alek Manoah? Do you buy super low? Do you drop him? What do you think?
I have no expectations for Alek Manoah moving forward. I have no idea how this is going to play out. Obviously, he's unusable right now. My hunch is that given how terrifically, spectacularly everything has gone wrong, something is broken in his actual process. And just as abruptly as that switch went off, it could go back on again. A pitching coach could point something out. Maybe he'll notice something in video himself, and he could turn things around like that. And so I don't think it's wise, given your level of investment in Alek Manoah, given how good we know he can be, for you to just abandon ship. I don't think that's wise. Obviously, you can't use him right now. Obviously, nobody's going to ask for much in a trade. And I'm not saying you should pay a lot in a trade. Like if somebody's about to dump him and you want to offer up your worst player for him, okay, that's one thing. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do think he's still worth rostering. Just stashing on your bench for a few more weeks at least to see if he can pull out of this. Because if he does, then it's still possible from that day forward he could be an ace for you.
All right, let's hop over to the hitters, Scott. And one of the biggest disappointments this season has been Jose Abreu, who is now 36 years old. And at the time of recording this, does not have a home run. Has not homered since September 13th of last year. Nothing encouraging on the StatCast page, Scott. Jose Abreu down to 81% rostered. Should that number actually be lower?
Well, I think... yes, I think this is one player I'm willing to move on from. He has such a long track record of success that it wouldn't be a shock if he turned things around, but he's 36, and he showed very early signs of decline last year with the power production falling, with his numbers specifically on fastballs getting worse. I was willing to ignore it because the exit velocities were still so good, but now with the 2020 hindsight, the benefit of 2020 hindsight, it's looking like a first indication to a much steeper decline that we're seeing this year. And so I think, at least in shallower leagues, you're okay moving on.
Scott, the hitter we probably get the most questions about this season is Michael Harris, who is frankly not doing much. Low batting average, no power, no speed. He's still 97% rostered. I know he was on the IL for a bit with that injury. At what point can people start to consider dropping him in, let's say, 3 outfielder leagues?
I'm not close to there yet. I would throw all my fab at him if I saw somebody else drop him, and I still consider Michael Harris to be a pretty good buy low. He did miss 3 weeks with injury, so how we were the same benefit of the doubt we were giving other players 3 weeks ago, we should still be giving to Harris now. A lot of the numbers, the underlying numbers, the StatCast numbers look great. Over 80, near 90% max exit velocity. His average exit velocity is not that far behind last year. His strikeout rate and walk rate, they're both better than last year. There are a lot of encouraging underlying signs here for Michael Harris. So I realize it's been frustrating. He's done next to nothing for you, but I would hang on a little tighter and wait a little longer to see him turn things around.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.